Welcome back to Finance, Relationships, and Reddit. Today we've got one from Am I the Asshole, written by Throwaway RA and a string of numbers, which is very creative and clearly not made by Reddit once you create your account. Are you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Am I the asshole for moving my son into a rental apartment after finding out that his dad's been cancelling his job applications? So my son Aiden, 23, moved back in with us upon graduating college as my husband wanted. My husband's original plan was to have Aiden live with us for free, but stay home and help with his disabled younger brother, 16. Aiden started complaining about needing more money and wanting to find a job. My husband was against this and even offered to double his allowance, but Aiden was growing tired of staying at home. So he began looking for jobs here and there for over a year, but none of his job applications came through. He'd just apply and they never get back to him. We were confused by this till recently. I found out my husband was behind all the job applications being cancelled. He'd wait till Aiden applies, then he'd proceed to cancel the application by impersonating him and using his email. I blew up at him for this, but his justification is that he's just trying to make sure that our younger son is cared for by Aiden, and said that Aiden has been a big help and him getting a job will affect his care for his brother. I went ahead and rented an apartment for Aiden and told him to stay there till he finds a job and starts paying for it for himself. Aiden was hurt upon knowing what his dad did. My husband was livid when he found out. He called me unhinged and said that I was separating the boys and teaching Aiden to become selfish and care more about a job than family. He also said it was a huge decision for me to rent an apartment without even running it by him. He's been giving me hell about it and calling me a terrible mother for encouraging Aiden to be selfish and self-centered. He said I needed to see and understand why he did what he did. There are some edits. Do you want me to read through them, or would you like...
Dearie me.
Edit, a few things to mention. 1, my husband says that since he and I have health issues, then we could use Aiden's help. 2, when I suggested outside help, my husband refused, saying he won't ask anything from anybody and that it's his son is his problem and nobody else's. 3, which is like apparently not Aiden's. Aiden's not a person, clearly. Sorry. And 3, I used money from our joint account to pay for the rental apartment. My husband said it was wrong and it was a major waste of money since we deal with medical bills constantly. Wow. Can't see this.
Oh my word. I mean, what a utter piece of shit.
Keep your feelings to yourself, eh?
Good lord. I mean, the logic is just completely and utterly flawed. I mean, look, I'm a logic person, so I'll go to the logic. We'll go logic first, and then we'll go to non-logic. Logically, it's completely flawed. You said he's got health problems, and you've got health problems. So what? You're going to say you're going to get your 23-year-old to live with you for the next 10 years while you guys deteriorate. You guys eventually die when your son goes from 16 to 26, and guess what? Your 23-year-old son is now 33 years old, no career, no job, and then what? Oh, but we never want outside help. Well, guess what happens then, sunshine? Outside help is having to be brought in to look after your disabled son because you have not actually helped your other son. You should have treated your 23-year-old as a complete individual. You should have shown the importance of caring for his brother, but you should not have enforced it. You have now, as a result of your actions, created resentment for him towards his brother. Your disabled son did not need that. His life was hard enough without you alienating his biggest ally. That is fundamentally what you've done. Because that 23-year-old's like, great, I could have had a career. I could be in my job right now. But my dad, of all people, my dad went in and actually flat out committed fraud, by the way. But we'll just gloss over that bit.
And now he's going to have to explain a year gap in his CV.
Yeah, so, okay, so first things first, if you're the 23-year-old, look, try and move past it. Try your best not to hold it against your brother. Your brother's not at fault. But if I were you, I would hold it against your father like a 10 ton weight. You need to get him to more say, whenever you go over to the house, never speak to him, never listen to him, never send him a card, never send him a birthday message until he realizes that basically what he has done. He has stabbed you. It's hard enough being a young person trying to get a job these days.
Especially your first job.
Especially your first job. And he's actually been making it harder, if not impossible. Now to talk to about the wife. I mean, the fact he blows up at you for renting an apartment, I mean, if I were in your shoes, I'm like, say, if another word comes out your mouth about what I'm doing, I am filing a divorce tomorrow. One more word. Because what he's actually done is he's actually not just damaged one of your boys, but both of your boys. Yeah. Because the 16-year-old will need his brother when you are gone. And you fundamentally he has fundamentally screwed that up. And what I could say far more likely is if you divorce him and you're able to manage both your sons effectively, you will do far better, and they will do far better than letting this idiot be in charge of it, because his logic's flawed, but never mind his logic, his morals are just backwards. So why you're with this guy is stunning.
I think one of the things that make it really hard when you have a child, whether they're disabled or not, is remembering that the only way to care for someone else is when you care for yourself. And it sounds selfish, but it actually isn't. You cannot fundamentally care for someone long term if you're not caring for yourself. And that includes having a job, having a place to live. And if it's with your parents, that's absolutely fine. But you have to have that independence, that for yourself, for your sanity, for your mental health, for your physical health, you have to be able to take care of yourself.
And look, there's a really good analogy you can pull with that. If you're on a plane and the cabin depressurizes, everyone knows you sort your own mask out first, then you sort the other person's. Because fundamentally, if you sort their mask out, you don't quite get it on properly, and then you pass out, then you're both dead. Carry on.
Having had experience with people with disabilities in the close family, I mean, we can both relate to this. It is far more difficult to deal with it when you do not have an ally in the people who are closest to that person. So, for example, here, your son is going to be closest to his brother, but you are closer. So you manage access to your house, you manage access to resources. And if you're forcing your son to become a carer, you're not actually pulling them closer, you're pulling them apart. As you said, there's going to be a lot of resentment that grows there. And there's going to be a lot of issues. I know for a fact that had my parents done this to me with my sibling, out of the kindness of my heart, I know for a fact that I wouldn't have seen past the applications. Now, I also have very poor self-belief, especially at the time where I was first looking for my first career job. But I would have absolutely looked after my sibling, also because they're awesome.
It's not your 23-year-old's fault or responsibility to look after your 16-year-old. That's your job.
Yeah.
I think, they've been really helpful. But hang on a second.
But that's out of the kindness of their heart. That's not an obligation.
That's your obligation. It's your child.
And like fundamentally, no one asks for this. You have to have Munchausen's by proxy to ask for this. But if you don't, and you are a well-balanced person, usually this is definitely not something you ask for. And we get that, but it is your responsibility at the end of the day. And I think you as a person, as a mother, you had done the only recourse that you could see at the time of getting your son out of there so that he is allowed to live his life. And I think that's great.
Short term, I think you've got a really good solution there of what you've managed to do with your son. I would say now you need to actually have the far bigger problem, which is dealing with your useless husband.
There is a comment where she explains that the husband is now denying access for the son, the older son, to visit the younger one.
I mean, that's actually happening. Who do you care more about? Your two sons or your husband? divorce him. And then guess what? You will get rights to look after your 16-year-old, and then your 23-year-old can always come and help and see his brother then.
Yeah.
You are no longer backing your son. You're actually backing your husband.
And also, your adult son shouldn't have to ask whether or not he can visit his brother.
Who's 16.
I mean, come on. Like, who does he think he is? And clearly, anyway, not the asshole. Maybe, probably needs to very much rethink the relationship with your husband. At least the dynamic they have now is not working for either you or your sons, and putting your older son actually in a dangerous situation, because people who don't get jobs and are forced to care for family members usually go down a very sad, slippery slope. And
I mean, this is a classic example. Now your husband is punishing your older son, but he didn't do anything wrong. If anything, it was you. So you two now you need to fight your husband. You need to go up to him, sit him down, and have an argument with him.
Yeah, I don't know.
You need to say to him, "This is not happening," and you cannot go and blame the 23-year-old. Because guess what? Aiden is his name. You can't blame Aiden. Aiden didn't choose this. I did. So don't block him from his brother. He's done nothing wrong. It's me you need to be having the argument with.
And explain to your husband the logic of, like, you guys pass away and your son has no career prospects at all, then that is fundamentally the end of the happy life of your son and of both of your sons.